Starting a podcast is similar to starting any other product or business initiative. It can be a challenge to clearly define requirements for projects like this, which sometimes leads to a let's just start and figure it out as we go approach. Well, there's nothing wrong with that approach in the same way that there's nothing wrong with going for a drive without a specific destination in mind. It can be fun, but most of us would be hesitant to hail a cab without first having some idea of where we want to go. And when corporate resources are being invested, even if the route stays fluid, it's usually best to agree on a general direction before we all jump in the car. So in this series, we'll consider the motivations of 3 roles that are common to most podcasts. That of the stakeholder, that's anyone with a stake in the project. Maybe it's you, it could be your company's CMO, it could be your boss who's paying you to think about this. We'll also want to consider the consumers. These are the people that we hope will become fans of our podcast when we're done. And then finally, the collaborators. These are your celebrities, your researchers, your authors, the people who are going to contribute to your show as guests. We'll be looking for overlapping motivations from these 3 parties to define the most effective format, tone, and theme for our podcast. Throughout this series, we'll be referencing course materials that you can download for free at uvs.com/podcasting. So in this video, let's consider the role of the stakeholder. This is a good place to start because likely they're the ones that are initiating this project and will have the most access to their voice. As we mentioned, it can be a challenge for some stakeholders to put these motivations into words. But personally, I found that most podcasts are motivated by one or a few of 3 primary drivers. So we might start there. For example, is the goal to demonstrate core competency and position the org as a thought leader? Maybe we want to instill trust in our brand's offerings or show how we lead in our industry. Or is the goal to bridge network gaps and foster relationships with hard-to-reach voices? Maybe we're trying to connect with others in our discipline or meet prospective collaborators or even new clients. Are we trying to create a personality-rich platform to amplify a voice or a message? Maybe we're just trying to humanize the brand or be more approachable or foster a community. Let's challenge our group to come up with a few of these on their own. Sometimes there won't be consensus about what the goal is, so it can be helpful to write them down on a whiteboard so that everyone can reference the options under consideration. If it's helpful, you can give everyone in the session 1 sticker to place next to the option that they think is the primary driver. Then you can tally the votes up and discuss the most popular goals. It may also be good to consider where this initiative fits in our customer journey. Amplifying a voice or a message, for example, may align with awareness at the top of our funnel, which would imply that success might come with a large following and a diverse audience. If our goal is in building relationships, on the other hand, success might involve a more targeted segment toward the bottom of the funnel, and the volume of subscribers may be less important. Either way, an effective solution will involve allocating resources, so we need to get some sense of how much value the goal represents to the stakeholder. Let's say the goal is to demonstrate that you're especially qualified to do what you do, and you want to be seen as a leader in the industry. This could mean that the stakeholder will bear most of the burden in producing the content as that authority, which could represent an investment in diligent pre-production research to ensure that statements and reasonings are sound. And of course, since no one wants to subscribe to a company podcast that simply discusses all of their many achievements, an effective concept might involve some rich post-production and storytelling to make the podcast engaging and not a lecture. If our stakeholder expresses an exceptionally high value for this goal, we'll probably be able to justify the relatively high scope of the effort when we're developing the theme. Conversely, if the goal were to humanize the brand, to be more approachable, the scope may not be as large. Even if the perceived value is moderately low, with the right host, it may be possible to come up with an effective theme. We might just invest in some modest post-production to clean up some of that audio while keeping the conversations relatively extemporaneous. By now, we should have a handful of motivations, so let's challenge our group to convert what we've discussed into job statements. The strength of job statements is that they focus on motivations like, I want to meet cool people, and not on attributes like 2 people talking. A good creative team can work wonders with motivations, but there's not really much to work with the latter. Let's consider an example. Now remember, with jobs to be done, we're trying to define situations, motivations, and expectations. So one job statement might read, when we host a podcast, I want to foster community so that I can promote brand recognition in the industry. Let's reference that value conversation we had earlier and attempt to rate the impact of this outcome on our organization. See how many of those you can come up with. By the end of this exercise, your creative team will be able to come up with a bunch of great ideas that will support your organization's business goals, and you'll have the artifacts necessary to give good direction and measure efficacy. In our next video, we'll analyze the motivations of the people we hope will listen to our podcast. We'll also consider how consumer motivations relate to their view of the organization's brand and how that might inform our show's concept. Of course, if at any point you'd like a little help from an agency you can trust, we're UVS.